tonight's call, we're going to have Brinton on tonight. So I'm excited to hear from him. Like I said, he was out here a month ago, sat down. I'm excited to hear what he learned while he was out here. And obviously it was something because his production's out of this world. So Frank, I'll turn it over to you. You can talk to Brinton, see what he saw when he was out here. It was kind of crazy when he was here. We were busy that whole week. So it went by
Yeah,
real fast.
I don't even think I was in town. I think I was
being
gone.
operated on.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. All right. Brenton, you there, buddy?
I'm here. Happy to be on.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. So tell us a little bit about how long you've been in the business, what you came from, what your numbers were looking like, you know, the first few months in the business, or how long you been in the business?
Been with FFL since mid-December, and then was working on selling a company that I had what I did before this. So pretty much, yeah, January, February, March.
So you just started. Okay.
Yeah. I
And
had
what
a company.
you had a what?
Practice company.
You had a yeah, everybody had a
that I
practice.
started last year. Yep.
What gave you the idea to drive? How far did you drive to come up here?
I think 8 hours.
8
maybe.
hours. And that's what's funny. Like, dude, we have so many people in this like if we took any agent in the country, I don't want to say any, but I'd say 90% of the agents in this country, you could find a top producer within 8 hours to drive to. You just could. How'd you find Nick, and what made you go, you know what, I'm going to drive 8 hours to Maryland and sit and see what the hell he's doing?
So I got invited, Dave Witchard, who's my upline. He invited me on a call where Jamie was talking about agent CRM and like the leads and everything like that. And I remember she talked about some guy named Nick, and she showed a screenshot of his calendar or something, and it was like double booked all the way down and showed his numbers. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do IULs. I'm gonna figure this crap out. And like, I want to meet that guy, but like, you know, obviously it takes time. So,
Sure.
you know, I asked Jamie to introduce me, and this was like before convention. And then she was like, yeah, you know, I'll introduce you. And then I met Jesse and Nick, and Jesse invited me to 10K a day dials where they're dialing IULs live. And, you know, so then I was on there when I could, you know, just listening in. And I'm like, I gotta figure out. I wanted an idea of what they were doing on the back end, which isn't so different than what you hear on the call, you know, hearing live, but, you know, just wanted to be in a room with him, see what he does on his computer while he's talking, you know, like get the off the, you know, when he's muted online, I want to hear what he's saying. Like, I want to know. So anyways, yeah, I just did what I, you know, asked him if I could be a fly on the wall. I was like, dude, I'll pay you. You know, I just want to get in the room with you for a day or whatever, you know, see what you're doing.
So you got up here, what, it was you came in on the night before? Is that accurate?
Yeah. I drove up, got in there that night, stayed in a hotel, and then Nick, I think he got there at like 2:30. So he had a late start that day, and from 2:30 that day until like 10, he closed like 15K.
Yeah.
Submitted 15K, and that there was a couple, you know, that were like, oh, you know, they weren't quite ready to do the banking information or whatever. Then I'm sure he closed after. But yeah, I watched him close 15K in a day.
And he doesn't even mess with the ones. If they start giving him a hard time on a banking, he's like, deuces, I'm out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched him. There were people on there that he just marked not interested next, and I'm like, really not interested? Like, no. He's like, no. I'm
Yeah.
bothering with it. On to the next one.
And that's the power of having 30 appointments a day. It's like, you know, you're not pressed to close every single person. So Mike, you got the mute deal?
Yeah, I got it.
All right. So when you, I thought you watched him the night before and then some of the next day. So this all happened in one day. But Nick likes to call like California. So he does start later because he works later, right? So were you doing final expense or mortgage protection prior to coming up here?
I was doing final expense, doing vet leads.
Okay.
So just trying to work the vet lead system that people are doing. And then I started dabbling in IULs before I came up. And then when I came up, I shadowed Nick and then said, that's it. This
That's
is
what
all
I'm going for. What was the biggest? I mean, you were only here for say 3 or 4 months. What was the most you ever wrote in a month?
Yeah, I mean, in the history since May of last year, is when I started doing final expense at all.
Okay.
The most I've ever written is like 18 in a month.
Yeah. So 4x, I mean, in 30 days.
Yeah, I ended
4X.
at 82. Yeah, so
That's insane. All right. So what was the biggest takeaway you got?
um, I think it's just honestly just the system. I mean, I know you want it to be magical, like this romantic thing, but it like from everything I took away, I'm watching Nick and he said the same thing every single time. Like I watched the first call and I'd already taken some notes from watching him on Zoom. Then he hops on the next call. He says the same thing. He says, "Hey, how you doing? Okay, I've got you in California. Okay, I got your birthday to such and such." Hops on the Zoom call, does the same questions, does the same presentation, shows the same pages, off like, and just like clockwork, the same
Yeah.
thing. I'm like, wow, Nick is good at what he does, obviously, like, and he's a super hard worker. But I think that what you guys have in like the system, like what Nick's doing, the leads, like everything, it's really powerful because I don't think you don't have to know everything there is to know about IULs. You don't have to know everything there is to know about compounding interest. Like you can just literally plug in and follow a script and learn what there is to know. And then it's just a matter of putting in the effort, putting the system in place. So like I came up there the very end of February.
Yeah.
And I think it was a Friday, might've been a Thursday and a Friday. So then I was only there really 2 part days. I drove back after the weekend on Monday. It's like, okay, it's game on. At that point, Nick had 3 dialers, I think. Now he's got 4 or 5. But I was like, you know what? It's time to I had 1 through an agency, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to recruit 2 dialers direct to me. So I went up first thing Monday. I put a post up looking for a VA, hired them. I bought more leads. When I was up there, Nick said, he's like, dude, there's no excuse. Like, there's no excuse why anybody can't do this. Like, what are they going to say? If somebody were on my team, he's like, what are they going to say why they can't write what I'm writing? And I'm like, I don't know. Really, the only thing that they may say is, well, I don't have that kind of money. Well, go get a credit card, do something. So I'm like, you know what? 100%. While I was up there, I applied for another credit card because I was like, I mean, I have some good credit. I have credit limit, but you know what? Like if I really want to take this all the way, it comes down to numbers for me.
Yeah.
So I put a spreadsheet together, looked at my numbers of like, okay, if I, based on everything that Nick told me, if I close at X%, if we set appointments for X, well, really, so top of the line, I guess, would be appointments, right? How many appointments do we book? How many of them show? How many of them do we close? Out of those, how many are going to actually get approved? And working it down the line to how many I need to sell and worked it back to the number of leads that I think I need to buy. So that's kind of where I went with it. Just buying the number of leads I think I need.
Yeah, and that really is. It's kind. Everybody's always, Brinton, looking for that magical answer. I mean, Mike did that to us probably the first
2 years.
2 years in business. I mean, it was, he'd ask me a question, I'd give him the answer. He didn't like that answer, so he'd ask Jamie the same question and see if she gave the same answer. And he was always like, dude, I know you're something else. You're not telling me something. I'm like, dude, no, we buy a ton of leads, we set a ton of appointments, and I go, right. It's not that complicated. And it doesn't change. Like, does the system help us? For sure. And I saw a question on here, like, how much does it cost per dialer? I wouldn't, if you're not issuing 30 grand a month or have over 50 grand in the bank account, just ready to spend. you can't even look at a dialer. Like you can't. It's just not the way this works. And the reason it doesn't work is we don't have a plug and play system to go and just select a dialer where the dialer doesn't need to be trained, it doesn't need to be managed. We can just give them to you and they'll set your appointments. If we had that system, I would say, all right, let's do it. But you have to find them, you have to train them, then you have to manage them. And it's not that simple and it's time consuming. Do you agree that you can do it, maybe not do as much as Nick's doing, but can do 60, 70, 80 grand a month if you got the leads, just called them all yourself and never had a dialer at all? You think you'd do 100 grand a month?
Yeah. I mean, I could for sure do 60. I think here's the thing, like with the appointments, I'm just shortcutting the system a little bit. Like they call 2 dialers 8 hours a day. So, they're putting in all the hours, stacking up appointments.
Yeah.
And I'm double booking appointments as well. So sometimes I'm like, okay, 2 no-showed in a row, at the same time. And then another 2 no-showed. And then sometimes it's like, okay, this person's waiting on me and I get backed up. So it's hit and miss. But I think if you were doing this on your own without a dialer, essentially you're just getting them on the phone and then you're setting the appointment or you talking to them right there, which I have maybe a 30% show rate anyway. So all of the time that they're spending booking appointments, if 30% of them show, like how many
You got
shows
plenty of
could I
time.
talk to by myself? I don't know.
Yeah, daggone right. And again, I'm not against dialers. Don't get me wrong. I just think people need to be at a certain level before they entertain that. And the biggest thing with that is to be able to train them and know what to do or have a bunch of money where you can make a bunch of mistakes. You know what I mean? And you were saying you sold a business, so you're obviously not flat broke. And most of us, I was flat broke when I got into business. I didn't have the ability to do anything else but call 50-cent leads, 10-cent leads, and get hung up on and yelled at all the time. That's how we got good on the phone. So, and I saw Nick on here. Let's get Nick on here because we really wanted him. He was supposed to be booked, but he probably got no-showed. Nick, can you unmute, bro?
I didn't get no shit. I canceled my appointments. I'm missing money, so somebody's paying me for this call.
I will pay you. I'll buy you Chick-fil-A tomorrow.
I appreciate it. What's going on? I love
Nick,
that.
why don't you take over and do a Q&A with Brinton? Because you guys have obviously spent way more time talking than myself and Brinton. I think it would probably go a little bit better.
Dude, I love what it is, man. I love the fact that he just said, like, you see the thing with Brinton though is he did what he asked what to do. He asked the right questions. I told him the answers, and then he applied it. If I told somebody else, I don't have any money, go open a line of credit, because you know how I am, dude. Like, it's just like, do it, do something. I don't know what the hell, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I don't have any money. Okay, well, this is a digit somewhere you can get somebody to lend you these digits. It's called a line of credit. You know what I mean? So like, and I said that. He's like, what would you do? But look what he did, dude. Like he didn't even wait till he went home. He sat right there and did it. I didn't even know he did it till he said that. I love that. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
But then somebody else would hear that and they're like, well, like all that fear comes in. It's like, dude, like if you don't think you can do it, then you're not going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just what it is. You know what I mean? So it's like, you have to believe in you. And that's like, and then again, like I keep saying the dollar things too, dude. I didn't just hire a dialer. Like I've dialed raw data for a long freaking time. I learned how to get really good to the point to where I can train a dialer to overcome objections before they even come. So if you're not good at dialing yet, you definitely don't want to hire a dialer because you don't even know how to dial yet. So like if you can hire somebody to do something, a dialer, they're going to do it probably 50 to 60% of the capacity that you can do it. So if you can't do it at all, 60% of zero is zero. You know what I mean? So it's like, you have to like first focus on like, okay, how can I talked about this the other day, man. Like I can't emphasize the importance enough on knowing the difference between maximizing and optimizing. I need to optimize systems and processes, right? So I need to optimize, okay, how can I have it to where there's no way that my dialer cannot set this appointment? Okay, well, due to my 5 million times getting cussed out, hung up on, and setting, now I understand the sequence that I need to give them. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not, there's no shortcut. There's no shortcut to doing it. And you hear that I have $4 and, like I do, but I have to manage these $4. I had to train these $4. I have to make sure that everything is going in sequence. You know what I mean? So it's not like we cannot seek shortcuts. And dude, like
Yes.
Frank, I wish we could put on the first podcast you had me. I wrote 8K in the field, and you had me come up. And did I not say this from day one? I said, dude, you got to take the steps. You cannot take the elevator. And I said that from day one. So like as I was doing that, and the first 8,000 I wrote before then, I was in Ryan Urbanski's office getting smoked. And then I got a little bit better. And then I would get smoked, and I would get a little bit better. And then but like it's a process that you have to go through. You cannot just come in and then say, all right, well, and not to mention costs. Like I'll fully disclose, what I do. Like I'm spending about 20 grand a month. You know what I mean? So like if you want to spend, if you don't have 50 grand saved up, and you're not willing to, and you don't have $20,000 that you could burn in a month to make sure that you're going to produce, then don't think about that. Think about like, I need to start making money. So like, and in the beginning, that is, I'm doing everything. I'm dialing, I'm selling, I'm scheduling the appointments, I'm doing the follow-ups, I'm making sure everything stays on the books, I'm doing back office. Like you have to wear all hats. You can't start giving hats out until you master that hat, right? So we gotta be careful with that, man. Because, and we're not saying like, oh, we're trying to conceal a secret. Like, no, man. We're trying to prevent you from going bust. Like that was happening so quick. Like if you're kicking out all this money and you don't have a system and you haven't optimized it to where it's going to generate revenue, that's how entrepreneurs got a business. Like, and it's real quick. You have to like understand, okay, I mastered this hat. I'm very good to the point, and I'm making enough money to where now I can pay somebody to delegate this task. And then you can, then you have to, optimize all hats, and then you can hand the hat over to somebody else. Say, you know what, I'm actually making enough money now to where I can pay somebody else to take this, and I can delegate this to them.
Well, and it wasn't, Nick, we had that talk like, dude, why are you going to say, and I asked you this, I said, dude, why don't you just set your own appointments? And your response was, dude, I want 30 in a day. And like, what am I going to say to that? Right. But a lot of people, I think, will try to they'll dish off a task, and then they don't use that time for more income producing activities. So it's a lot like you wanted super high numbers, and and to the line of credit thing, it doesn't scare me. I don't give a rip, but I fear that people will look at that and then go get a line of credit and do things and not do it the way it's laid out and fail and then blame you. Right. And I'm going, dude, there's too many different ways to come up with 40, 50, 60 grand in this business. Right. Now, if you have the ability to, and you're not afraid, you're willing to work your ass off, then go ahead and do it. But like, if you're one that's never looked at yourself in the mirror and go, I'm the reason I'm not where I want to be, and you always look for somebody else to blame, please don't, by God, go get a line of credit, because you're just going to blame us for not having success. But if you're, I knew, dude, I remember the first time you called me and you were like, dude, I had the worst day on the phones. I laughed at you just because I knew you weren't a punk, right? You weren't going to curl up in the corner and pee on yourself. But I think that's what you saw in Brinton. Like, dude, this guy's willing to drive 8 hours. He's not like soft. He's ready to rip. And you gave him some advice, and he took it. I mean, I think it's a home run, but I don't think everybody's keen for that advice, sadly enough.
And then exactly, like, and then on the other side of that, like I've always tried to show up with a solution instead of a problem. So like, even when I started off, man, and I was getting killed, I would call you, say, hey, this happened. I think I should do this. What do you think? Not, man, I got smoked on the phone. This place sucks. It's an MLM. Like, have I ever done that? No. Like, it's like, okay, this happened. I think I should do this. What do you think? All right, perfect. Now I have something. Now I can make an informed decision based off somebody else who has 12 years in industry. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, okay, perfect. So that is also like, that's always a mental note in general. Like, always show up with a solution, man. Don't show up with a problem. Nobody, if you come to me and you tell me you got a problem, it's like, okay, what do you think you should do? Like, help me help you. You know what I mean? Like, where are you at with your problem? And then not to mention, like, that's going to begin to always carry you through, because you're always going to be solution based. Like, all right, what should I do now? All right, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should, like me and Mike and Jesse, like, and Jamie, we're always in here trying to optimize the system. So like, even like, as far as like the new things that we have rolling out, we're always like, what if we did this? What if we did that? But if I just go to Mike, like, man, this doesn't work, he's gonna be like, dude, what can we do to fix it? You know what I mean? Like, give me something to like bounce off, and then we can reflect the ideas and say, well, what if we tried it like this? What if this said this? Like, it's optimization, right? So we're always trying to optimize, but then again, maximize, right? So you do have to maximize.
Nick, Saturday was a 5.5 hour process. Everyone who has the CRM, a 5.5 hour process on how to text people that book an appointment to try to increase the ratio. 5.5 hours just to do that. Me, Jesse, and Nick on Saturday. I mean, to make it better, so we all get, can benefit from it.
It does, and I think that's also too, like what Nick's saying about have a solution base. And so, you know, Mike, how many hours do you think you spent building this system? Like, can you even count? I mean, it's got to be
I
5,000 hours plus. I mean, it's been 2 years.
When it started, like Brinton talking about the system we have, it started with nothing. And every day, me, Nick, Jesse, we would sit in here and we would be booking appointments and we would say, what if we click this button? Let's make it do this. What if it does this? What if it, and it was every day. And I'm selling too. And at the same time saying, we can do that. We can do that. We can do that, to where it is now. And just like on Saturday, when people talk about the system that we have, Nick came in and said, hey, our no-shows are high. Let's try to get it up 10%. So now 5.5 hours, it took 3 people to sit down and cut. And I always tell them, I'm like, you got to watch while I'm doing this, because things sometimes will be broken, you know? So I'm like, just watch what I'm typing. So they'll say what they want, then I'll type it and we'll make it work. And then we tested it and it worked. And now today we have what I think is definitely going to make the system even better. So
Yeah.
every day making it better. I got a question for Brinton.
Yes.
How did you go from, were you doing any IULs before you came up here, or was it strictly veteran leads?
No, I was doing IULs as well. So I had probably paid about what $950 a month or $950 a week is what I was at for maybe a month before I came up there. One of the big things that shifted was just watching the process. So I was calling and then getting the information up front, like just talking to them, hey, you know, how much do you want to pay a month? You know, kind of getting an idea of what they're looking to do with it. And then I would set a time to reconvene. And I, at that point, ran an illustration for them. And the huge takeaway for me watching Nick is, number one, if somebody tells you that they're going to be paying $500 a month, or you ask them, you know, about their income and they want to pay $500 a month, and then you reschedule, that's just like, they don't want it. You know, it's like, it's that, oh, why would I meet with this guy again? Like, I'm going to pay $500 a month and I didn't give him the magic of what that 500 does for him. Like, you have to get them in the right place where, like, not driving, not at their friend's house, not, you know, like falling asleep, like get them in a place where they can hop on a Zoom, and when they can make a decision and then, you know, present to them and then close it like right then. So they give you the 500 and you tell them, okay, this is what it's going to do for you. Here's how you're going to be able to borrow from it. Here's all the benefits that it's going to give you. Here's how much life insurance it's going to give you. And then, you know, at the end, I love how Nick just, it's a smooth transition, you know, into the application, and you get it done. It's not like asking them permission. Do you want to do it? You know, and then getting the solid yes. It's just like, all right, great. The next thing is just to see if we can get you approved. You know, it's going to take a couple weeks for them to think about it. You know, here's what we need.
Yeah. Are you in a dial room every day with Jesse's dial room every day dialing with these guys, or are you dialing by yourself?
I haven't been. I've just been dialing by myself, trying to get the VAs or the dialers dialed in. So I'm on
training them
with them. Yeah, I could do better.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I mean, if I could hop in there too.
We'd love to have you hop in. The more people we have, and it's not a Q&A. Like, and I think that's the reservation for a lot of agents jumping in these dial rooms, is they don't want to get peppered, especially if they're good. They don't want to get peppered with Q&A all day. They just want to work, and if people want to listen, that's fine. And that's what it is. Like, when I send people to that dial room, 10K a day with Nick and Jesse, I'm like, listen, this is not a Q&A session. If you start peppering them with questions, they have the permission to remove you from the dial room. If they get a break in the middle of the day and they're bored and they want to talk to you, that's a bonus, but don't expect it. You can listen to what they're doing and learn. That's it. So, I mean, the more people we have on there, the more people we have of, you know, potentially setting and closing an appointment while they're on. It's better for all of us. But I want everybody to be clear. It's not a one call close. It's still, it's an upset of an appointment and then a close. So it's 2 calls, but in that first call, it's not asking them any types of, like, how much you want to spend or what do you look. It's simply just setting the appointment. And I don't know, Brinton or Nick, if you could if you guys want to go over that setting the appointment script. And
Dom's got a great question. So other people are, what is the transition, Brinton, to go from illustration to app? How do you do that?
So I tweaked it a little bit from what Nick showed me, but well, so backing up at the very beginning of the call, now
Tom wants to role play it. Why don't we role play it? It's a great idea. So we can show everyone how to do it.
okay, yeah. So
Pitch it how you will to me.
at the beginning of the call, I say, hey, Mike, my goal here today, you know, obviously we're going to talk about your goals, or you've already told me what you want to do. My goal is to make it as black and white as possible. So by the end of the illustration, hopefully I answer all your questions. But on one hand, you're going to love it. You're going to say, this is amazing. This sounds awesome. And if that's the case, then we'll go ahead and submit an application for you and see if we can get you approved. On the other hand, if you say, absolutely not for me, just tell me, you know, you're not going to hurt my feelings, and that's totally fine. But does that sound fair? And then they normally say, yeah. And then that's my tie-in at the end. But going from the transition, at the end of the application, I'm basically, and Nick could probably do some input here too, but I've ended with kind of the values or how much they can put in, you know, up to that MEC limit. And then I'm basically asking questions like, so, you know, any other questions that you have? And then they say, no, I mean, sounds awesome. You know, or they might have another question, I'll answer it. And there's a certain point where you can kind of feel they don't have much more to say. You've answered all their questions. So I say, great. The next step, if you want to move forward, you know, or probably not even say if you want to move forward, but the next step is just to submit an application and see if we can get you approved. And then I click, and I'm still sharing my screen with them so they can see me click on the application. Like, they know what I'm doing. You know, they'll stop me if it's an absolute no. And then I'll basically go over what things we're going to go through on the application.
Is everything you're doing right now a 2-call close? Are you doing the discovery and then the pitch, or is some of it now a 1-call close? I know Nick's doing a lot of 1-call closes, he's not doing the 2-call. What are yours?
So this is, I mean, if at all, so the dialers are setting the appointment. I show up, and then we're creating the illustration, doing the app all in one. And then occasionally it's a 2-call close. So like if for some reason the dialer got somebody on and they actually have a second person that they need to consult with, or, you know, I don't know, whatever extenuating circumstance, I'll do a second appointment, but for the most part, I'm just trying to close them there. But
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nick, what are you doing? Are you doing how many 2-call versus 1-call are you doing right now?
I would say 1-call is probably 80%, 2-call probably 20. And only way I'm 2-calling is if they're not ready to go. Like I'll say, you know, like if I hear that they're at work, man, they're at the store, they're driving, I kind of let them know what we're gonna do. You know, basically like we're gonna. So if you call it a discovery call, I just say, okay, you just want to see what your goal is with the IUL, see if it's the proper fit for you. Okay, my goal is for generational wealth, tax retirement. Okay, perfect. So this could be perfect for that. So what I want to do is actually schedule a call that way I can get your eyes on the screen, and what we'll do is we'll tailor an illustration for you. And then I'm booking the appointment from the appointment. Like, so like and then like also found like I need to get them excited about showing up to the next appointment. So like, what is your goal? Okay, well, this is perfect for that. So what I'm going to do for you is boom. You know what I mean? So like that'll help increase the show in a second.
People that have never heard discovery call, pitch call, what is a discovery call to you? That first call?
A discovery call is just fact finding. It's just to see really what they want. You know, like prove yourself to be credible. And as Brinton said, you know, so I'll be like, okay, so I see you're in California. Okay, date of birth is this. Now I know. Now you know that I got your inquiry that you just submitted, right? So like that's out of the way. So I'm the real person that you know you wanted to have the information, and then I just say that, you know, bring me up to speed. What's your goal with the IUL? What are you looking to utilize it for? And I'll just build a little bit of rapport, a little bit of conversation, see what their goal is, see if it's the right fit for them. And then if it's not, I'll tell them right then and there, like, I don't think this is going to be, I don't think this is what you were looking for. Or, okay, perfect. So what we'll do next is I'll actually want to set some time aside with you that you're home from work or whatever they're doing, that you're not doing that. And then let them know what entails of that.
So
And
Nick,
that's really not, the goal is to have the appointment set where they're going to be able to be in a position, like the goal is a 1-call close, right? It's so you're not, because I think everybody used to do 2 calls, a discovery call and then a close. So really 3, set the appointment, discovery call, close. And then y'all were finding out that it's better to just set the appointment, do a close call, correct?
Yeah, I just didn't feel like going through all of those calls. I'm like, no, I'm just trying to like, you know, like I'm gonna show you now it makes sense or it don't. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to do a million phone calls.
Yeah. Well, if it makes sense, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, if it makes sense, it makes sense. And again, like, so my recommendation there would be like if somebody there is if they're new and they need to figure out like, okay, this person had cancer 2 years ago, like if it's something in the fact finding process that they need to check with their upline, do that to start. You know what I mean? Like, that would be my recommendation there. And then, so do the discovery call, ask it. And then that's the other thing I'll ask about health, any major health complications, any DUIs, felonies, convictions in the last 10 years. So I'll vet them, make sure they're qualified, see what they need. So I actually forgot that part. So I'll ask them how their health is, see if anything is going on there, ask if they, and I definitely recommend like the agent ask that about the DUIs, felonies, convictions, because there's tonality on there. And if somebody's like, what do you mean any felony? Like what I'll say there is like, if somebody had 3 DUIs last year, the probabilities of them, crashing and dying are higher. They're higher risk. And then they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So, and then typically the ones who get upset about that are the ones with felonies, convictions, and DUIs.
Why you need to know that?
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I'll kind of fact find, qualify them, see what they need, and then I'll book from the appointment. And then, yeah, man, as far as like the close, I same thing. Like I open hand close. Like I'm not, these are not final expense clients. It's not like a pressure close. Like, I'm going to see if you get approved first, and then, no. And like, if you, I let them know if you get approved, this is going to go in force. You know what I mean? Like, this is not like a, bait and switch and we're going to submit the app and then, if you get just to see if you get approved. No. If I go through this time to submit this application, you get approved, this policy will go into effect on whatever draft that you elect. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what it is. But again, like it's providing enough value to them up until the point to where you can open hand close at the end. And it's the same as my close is what Brinton just said, all right, so next steps for you. So I'm always assumptive anyway. Like we do have to, like we have to think for them. Next steps for you will be submit an application. At that point, what's going to happen is what's going to happen, not what might happen. What's going to happen is it's going to go into underwriting. At that point, that could take a couple of days, could take a couple of weeks. At that point, the underwriter will come back with either an approval. They may have an additional questions or a denial, but those are next steps that you want to start off at X% of income. So like when I start the call, I say people contribute to this like they would like 401k, IRA, 403b, something like that based off percentage of income. So now I can narrow down the amount of income. And then I'll also close with that. Okay, so did you want to start off with 5% income? Is that comfortable for you monthly? And then I'm quiet. And then the first one who talks loses. I don't say nothing until they say what they want to do.
I also think Nick's tonality is huge.
Tell him
So
about Brinton.
what?
Tell him about dude. Or what do I say? What did you say that I was saying?
Oh, so when we're up there, I'm like, so don't take this the wrong way, Nick, but are you, how do I say it? Are you do you intentionally come off like a prick? And then he's like, yes, I do. And I'm like, okay, we were talking.
Buddy.
What?
I was calling him buddy. You were like, you mean to keep calling him?
Oh, yeah, because Nick's like, hey, what's up, buddy? All right, buddy. Sounds good, buddy. Like, and if somebody says buddy to me, I'm like, who are you? Like, don't call me buddy. Like, unless they're old and I'm young, which is different. But Nick just, and I think that's important though, like when you shadow somebody, like you don't have to recreate the whole recipe. Just follow their recipe, like exactly. Don't take their recipe and tweak it because you know better, because obviously you don't. Like work it. If I'm doing Nick's recipe, I got to follow it like Nick does it. So Nick, like when people are on the call, some of that prick, or if you will, like the way that he just comes across though, he knows what he's talking about. So like, don't question him. Like, I know what I'm talking about. I've been doing this a while. Like, and if you're going to trust somebody with $500, $1,000, $1,500 a month, they better know what they're doing. It's not like, I'm not really sure. This is my first time, like, so.
Before we wrap up, I like to be totally transparent. What you buy, Brenton, it's you, Jesse, and Nick who buy more leads than anyone. How many leads you buy in a month, just so people know? What's your?
I'm at 200 a month right now, and then
No, that's a week. I bet.
A week, excuse me. Yeah,
I bet it is. Yeah, so he's buying a lot of leads. Nick, how many leads you buy in a month?
At least 1,000. I'll say 1,000 calling short.
There you go. And Jesse's on here. I think Jesse's probably at least 800 to 1,000 leads a week. So just so you guys know, this isn't happening with a couple leads. I mean, these people are putting a lot of money, but that's why Nick's numbers are the way they are. So, Brenton, you're the one who first got the CRM and totally dismantled it. We had to go in and rebuild it, right?
Yeah, yeah. You
So,
said go in there and break it. No, I'm
yeah,
just kidding.
he definitely
I
did. So
definitely did that.
that's awesome. But also all of our top producers right here, the four highest, they're all on the CRM and they're all buying IUL leads. Brinton, could you work as many leads as you're working without CRM, like by hand on paper?
Oh, heck
Spreadsheet?
no. No way.
I know Nick and Jesse, they all feel the same way.
I
So
will.
Telesales in general, you cannot, I mean, dude,
I don't think you
when
can.
we
It
did
takes three
paper,
leads.
remember we used to print our leads out, Mike? And
Bro,
we would write little
we
things
got
on it.
30
We'd have
leads a week.
stack
That's
lead,
what.
yeah, but we had 30 leads a week, had stacks everywhere. And we
Yeah.
still miss stuff. Can you imagine on just a spreadsheet trying to fill in information and go back and read a little bit of thing? It's
Impossible.
literally impossible. And every top telesale producer will tell you, you have to have a system in place. Whether it's, I mean, and listen, I'm partial because I watched Mike build this CRM, but I've also had people that don't work with us that have used it and said it's the best CRM they've seen. You need something, and so it's just a matter of, are you willing to invest in it? And you don't have to start at 200 leads a week, 150 leads a week. You start somewhere. As long as the lead flow is consistent, the results will come and they will stay consistent. What happens is we have so many agents, they start leads, they stop them, they start them, they stop them, and that's what their production does. It mirrors their lead purchases. It's why we work so hard to get reoccurring lead orders on the board, because if you have consistent lead flow, you will have consistent numbers. So Nick and
Frank, you
Britt,
know what,
thank
too?
you.
When you first get on the CRM and you maybe have 30, 40, 50 leads a week and you're using a CRM, you get to understand how to use the system. It's hard to not use it, then all of a sudden ramp up to 100 leads, because then you got so many leads coming in, you haven't used the system, you don't know how to use it. So, I mean, I think you should have it to begin with and then increase your lead flow each and every week. So
Yeah,
it makes
no
it
doubt.
easier.
It definitely will. The CRM pays for itself, but the leads is the most important thing. I mean, we can't stress it enough. If every person on this call, just if we, what was that total volume? 3.5 million, 4
Yeah.
million, somewhere. If
3.5.
there's 150 people on here now, if every one of y'all automated your lead purchases, meant they were reoccurring week in and week out, the numbers would double. The volume would double, which means whatever you're writing now, you would double that easily inside of 30 days. You just have to take the leap of faith. That's all it is.
I want to say something here too.
And the accountability.
So Nick came down to Roanoke for Velocity's lock-in, and he was talking, and I think something that he said there, not even what he said, like everything he said is true. It's always true. But when we're there, Nick was shouting me out, like, because of what I, coming up and shadowing him, and here's the results that I had. And then of course there were those people who like raised their hand, like in Nick's presentation, and they're like, could I shadow you, Nick? I'm like, oh dude, relax, like ask him after, or something like that. But you get the people that want those results, but they're not thinking ahead, like that guy, it's because it's in front of him, like the magical solution is in front of him, and that's Nick. Like if you shadow this guy, then you can get this result. And so they want to do it, but like really like sit down and figure out where you're going and take the time. Like after this, if you really want to go shadow Nick or Jesse or
You.
it is me.
You're in that conversation now just because of it's not that
Then
complicated.
yeah, like reach out, and anybody would be willing to help you, I'm sure. But it's I guess the difference of when it's on a call right here, asking a question, or when somebody's in the room and like a couple days later, because it's that important to you, or before, and being willing to put in the inputs and the sacrifice to get those results.
Yeah. I appreciate it, Brinton. Nick, thank you so much for rescheduling your appointment for us. We owe you one. Mike, do you have anything else before we wrap this thing up?
Yeah, everyone, you definitely want to jump on next week. As much as I love talking about IULs and this kind of money, everyone that comes in here, most people come in and don't have that kind of money. So next week, we're going to have D'Amica Brown on from Golden State. She's going to talk about working mortgage leads out of the ILC doing 20,000 plus with minimal lead spend. So it's great to see what these guys are doing, but also having people to come in here and not put out a bunch of money, but be able to make a bunch of money is important too. So make sure you get everyone on next week. And
Thursday, Mike, we
we
have
have 200 plus. And Thursday,
SRS liftoff call at noon. It's the Q&A. So the Q&A style, if you hop on, you can ask any question you want. We'll have annuity producers, IUL producers, and then Thursday evening is the ladies call, the first Thursday of the month. So guys, don't miss it. We'll see y'all next week.